In October 2025, the world was surprised by unusual economic news. A new kind of war declared neither tanks nor missiles were used, but a war that controls almost everything in our lives, from smartphones, computers, and electric cars, also to the most dangerous weapons used by armies like fighter jets. China, the world's factory, has begun controlling the tech war just by a declaration of turning off the flowing of rare metals. But only a few hours later, in the White House, the US President responded at Truth Social, wrote a fiery post that wasn't just a threat, but a declaration of full-scale trade war. He added 100% tariffs on all Chinese imports. Suddenly, the fragile truce between the world's two largest economies collapsed. The stock markets were downward, and investors wondered why China suddenly decided to strangle the world and shut down the export of rare metals. In this video, we will discuss what's going on between the United States and China. So keep watching and subscribe the channel. First, we should know what rare metals that China has monopolized, leading the world into an economic crisis. In fact, the name rare metals may be a bit misleading because they're not literally rare or not existent. They're found in many parts of the world. But the problem lies on their extraction process. The process is extremely complex and expensive, causing environmental pollution. Over the past decades, China has quietly and intelligently taken control of this industry, almost completely oblivious to the world. It extracts and processes more than 90% of the critical metals in the whole world. In other words, for every 10 kilograms used in the world, 9 kilograms come from Chinese factories. Now I have a question. What are those critical metals? There are 17 chemical elements, including neodymium, dysprosium, and samarium. These three elements are the backbone of modern technology. They're used in smartphones, headphones, TV screens, hard drives, and optical fibers, also in the magnets in electric vehicle motors. Moreover, they're essential in the renewable energy industry, wind turbines, and solar panels, as they enable those technologies to operate more efficiently and sustainably. In the medical field, they're used in the manufacture of MRI machines and advanced medical devices. But the greatest importance of those rare earth minerals lay in artificial intelligence and the military industry. The most advanced artificial intelligence chips, which are made by NVIDIA, require those minerals to operate more efficiently without overheating. For example, China produces 99% of the world's supply of dysprosium. The problematic and interesting thing is that this quantity comes from just one factory. That single major refinery factory, which is located in Bosch in China, literally controls the future of AI. Second, the rare metals in the military industry are pretty significant. They're used in missiles, guidance systems, radars, and even the world's most powerful fighter jets such as the F-35. In other words, America manufactures its highly advanced weapons with components sourced from its competitor, which poses a threat to its national security. China didn't make its moves haphazardly. They were carefully considered and planned for months and maybe years. China generally distinguishes in playing long drawn-out chess game. For example, during 2024, it compiled all information needed to make this bold declaration by forcing exporters to submit detailed reports about rare earth shipments getting out of harbors and their destinations. In other words, it created a complete database of global supply chains to announce its new rules bravely, not as restrictions, but a systematic strangulation. Additionally, China issued any company that sells those minerals or rare earth magnets must obtain an export license from the Ministry of Commerce. However, the ministry stated that any applications related to foreign military suppliers wouldn't be approved. More than that, it has restricted any equipment, technology, or even information that would help any other country build its own factories to produce or process rare earths. The government inspectors have banned factories transferring any equipment or technology outside in order to ensure they remain in China. Third, which is the craziest, China regulations didn't apply only to raw materials, but also to any product containing even 0.1% of rare earths, and that reflected China's strength and seriousness dealing with America in this economic war. But Jimmy Goodrich, a senior fellow at the University of California Institute of Global Conflict and Cooperation, said, "It's impossible to tell whether any technology product contains a small percentage or not. Therefore, experts consider this move a very dangerous economic weapon in the trade war with America." But the United States believed that tariffs will double Chinese product prices and nearly disappear from the market, which gonna be a strong blow on the China economy. The trade war has negatively impacted financial markets and indices have turned red. The Dow Jones Index lost about 900 points, and the S&P 500 Index recorded its biggest drop in months. Let me ask you a question. Who has the stronger position, and who can endure this war longer? To find out, let's see the strengths of each side. Let's start with China. First, China controls the lifeblood of modern technology. Any technological factory in the world needs Chinese rare earth minerals. This is a powerful leverage China has been building over decades with massive investments and strategic plans. Second, strategic patience. I believe this is China's most powerful strength. China is playing a long-term game. It's willing to endure short-term pain in order to achieve long-term strategic goals. China experts Jonathan Zinn, a fellow at the Brookings Institution, said, "What China took away from the Liberation Day tariffs and the cycle of escalation followed by de-escalation is that the Chinese side had a higher pain threshold. In fact, that what happened in the trade war that began in early 2025. When tariffs reached 45%, it was expected that China would be severely impacted, but that didn't happen. On the contrary, China demonstrated a remarkable ability not just to endure, but also to respond. Its calmness and good planned response forced President Trump to reduce tariffs to 30%, making inspections for electronics. Third, China is not only the world's factory, it's also a huge consumer market. 1.4 billion people, most of whom are middle-income earners, therefore possess high purchasing power. Many American companies such as Apple and Qualcomm depend on the Chinese market for some of their profits. If China decided to ban or impose restriction on American companies, it would destroy the company's profits in Chinese market. Apple sells a quarter of its products in China. Also, Qualcomm heavily relies on the Chinese market. Now let's see American strengths. First, America is still the leader in designing and manufacturing the world's most advanced electronic chips and software. Companies like Nvidia, Intel, and AMD are the global leaders in chip design and American technologies. The second tool of American power, which would help the United States reduce the impact of Chinese monopoly on rare earth minerals, is long-term alternatives. That means building mineral factories to process rare earths. Although that step takes approximately 3 years for factories to reach full working capacity, it's not impossible for America to reduce the time frame as a result of the availability of capacity and capabilities. The United States has already begun investing in local mining companies, such as MP Materials and Petrology Metals, to lessen its dependence on China. Therefore, some experts say that China's monopoly may not last for a long term if the West seriously invests and works diligently to build its own supply chains. Third, the United States is not alone in this war. It has several allies such as the European Union, Japan, and South Korea who have expressed concern about China's actions. The European Union expressed its deep concern and called on China to act as a reliable partner. United international pressure could force China to back down or at least negotiate more flexibly. But China is betting on the West's vulnerability, which will be quickly affected and unable to withstand for a long time, especially since AI sales have become a pillar of the global economy. The World Trade Organization stated in its latest World Trade Outlook for 2025 that AI goods accounted for nearly half of the annual increase in global trade growth due to demanding for AI-related products such as semiconductors, servers, and communication equipments. That means if AI were to cease, the global economy would face recession. Meanwhile, the US is betting that if it imposes heavy tariffs and technological restrictions, the Chinese economy will be severely impacted, forcing Beijing to retreat. We arrived to the end of this video. If you like it, subscribe the channel and press the like button.